name is Emily Sturman, and I'm 13 years old, and my mentor is Sharman Tan, and I will be showing you how I created Breakout using Java. So first of all, what is Breakout? What is Breakout? So for all of you who don't know, Breakout is an old-fashioned game that involves a number of bricks, a ball, and a paddle. And the goal of the game is using the paddle, get the ball to break all of the bricks. So there were three main elements that I used in this game. So the first one was the ball, which obviously had to be able to move, and it had to be able to increase its speed gradually as well as bounce off other objects. And then there were the bricks, which had to be able to disappear when they were hit as well as increase the score. And then finally there was the paddle, which had to be able to be controlled by the player, usually by the mouse, and only move on the x-axis or side to side. Of course, there were other elements that I used, but these were less significant, such as the lives, or the start and replay menus, or the game over messages, and of course there was the overall appeal. So if we look at each one closely, this is the code I used for the ball. And so what I did was I had to get the ball to bounce off objects at somewhat random angles, otherwise you'd be stuck in an infinite loop. But while doing that, stay at a constant speed. So I did this by, first it only did this when it was going vertically, so it would have to change its y direction, so if it's going up it would have to go down and vice versa. And then after that I changed the x speed, which was essentially the angle that x was going at. Then to get the ball to move at the same speed that it was moving before, I used a variable called speed equalizer, and what I put in there was the distance that the ball would move in a certain amount of time divided by a constant speed. And I did this using Pythagorean theorem, or a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And then after that, I just had to divide the x speed and y speed by the speed equalizer. So the next element that I used was the bricks, as I said before. And these had to disappear and increase the score when they were broken. So this is the code that I used. And the general idea behind it was that when the ball hits an object that is not the paddle, because the paddle is the only other object besides the bricks, then it must be a brick. And so then it would have to remove the object that it's hitting and increase the score by a certain amount. And then, so the last main element was the paddle, which had to be controlled by the player and move only side to side. And this was the code that I used, and it was also fairly straightforward. What it did was it said when the mouse is moved, set the x location of the paddle to where the mouse is. But if the mouse is off the screen, set the x location of the paddle to the very edge of the screen. And for the other elements, they used fairly simple bits of code. For example, the lives used a straightforward if statement for when the ball went off the screen. And the start and replay menus where if you click on them, then they disappear and the game starts again. And the game over messages had fairly similar concepts. And for the overall appeal, you're going to have to come check out my game to see if you like it. So even though these elements were fairly simple, the ball has to move and the bricks have to break, they help me create, their concepts help me create a fully functional version of Breakout. So, thank you.